Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley. Senator Baisley.
Excused.
Bridges. Buckner. Coleman. Cutter. Senator Cutter. Danielson. Exum. Fields. Gardner. Janal. Gonzalez. Hansen. Senator Hansen.
Excused.
Henriksen. Hawkins Lewis. Kirkmeyer. Kolker. Liston. Lundin. Marchman. Michelson Janae. Senator Michelson Janae.
Excused.
Malika. Pelton B. Pelton R. Priola. Rich. Roberts. Senator Roberts.
Excused.
Rodriguez. Simpson. Smallwood. Senator Smallwood.
Excused.
Sullivan. Van Winkle. Will. Winter. Zenzinger. Senator Zenzinger.
Excused.
Senator Baisley. Senator Hansen. Senator Michelson Janae. Senator Roberts.
Mr. President.
Have Smallwood. Smallwood and Zenzinger. Mr. President.
Here.
I'm so sorry.
No, you were busy. I should have.
That's okay.
Morning roll call is 31 present, 0 absent, 4 excused. Will the clerk please add Senator Zenzinger to the roll? Morning roll call now is 32 present, 0 absent, 3 excused. We do have a quorum.
When we talk about the journal, yes. Huh? We're just going to discuss the journal.
And thank you for joining us, Senator Roberts. The morning roll call actually is 33 present, 0 absent, 2 excused, and we still have a quorum. Senator Michelson Janae, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Will.
We should dance. Monday was great, yesterday not as good, so we need all yeses today. I move that the Senate Journal of January 23rd, 2024 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I very much support this motion being offered by the good senator from Newcastle. I just will state that for the record, the call to order by the
You were saying, Senator Gonzalez?
President pro tem happened actually at 9 a.m. I am supportive of this motion, and then I ask for an aye vote.
Very good, very good.
Are there any motions to amend the journal? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. The ayes have it, the motion is adopted. Oh, yeah. Will the clerk please add Senator Baisley to the roll? And Senator Smallwood, you're excused, so you can go home if you'd like. Please add Senator Smallwood to the roll as well. Senate Services.
January 24th, 2024, correctly revised House Bill 1084.
Members, we are so lucky to have the one and only Senator Stratton Raleigh Heath back with us here in the State Senate. Third reading of bills. Final passage.
House Bill 1084 by Representatives Wilford and Young, Senators Colker and Fields, concerning the repeal and reenactment of the law enacted by House Bill 23B 1002 that increased the earned income tax credit for 2023 and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Colker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 24-1084 on third reading and final passage. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Senator Fields.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. I stand here in strong support of House Bill 1084. 1084 is concerning the increase of the Earned Income Tax Credit. If you know the history and the legacy behind the Earned Income Tax Credit, it's to know that it's been supported and endorsed and sponsored in advance by President Ronald Reagan. Long, long time ago. And the reason he did so is because he wanted to lift people up who was experiencing poverty across the nation of the United States. He saw that was an opportunity to recognize the hard-working people across the nation, to give them a tax credit that they earned. This House Bill 1084 is about earned tax credit for the people who are at the lower bracket of tax earners. These are not your corporations. These are not your high earners. These are the people in your community that work hard every every single day to fuel our economy. They're not insignificant and they're not disposable. These are the people, when you go to that high-price restaurant, they may be a valet driver. And they're taking your car and they're parking it, so when you're done doing your dinner, you give them their keys, they give you your car. They may be the waitress. Who takes your order and she delivers your meal. These are workers. They're doing the best they can under extreme circumstances. If you look at who's eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit, they're not wealthy, but they have families. They have children. And this Earned Income Tax Credit allows for them to get a little relief. It allows them, for our state and the federal government, to put money in the pockets of working families. There's millions of them. They're in Pueblo, they're in Boulder, they're in Alamosa, they're in Vail, they're in Colorado Springs, they're in Aurora, they're in Denver. They're everywhere. And they're the people that we represent. There's never a wrong time to uplift working families. This is what this bill does. It already passed. But we had to amend it. We're here today to ask you to pass it again for working families in every single district that is represented here. Rural Colorado, suburban Colorado, urban Colorado, your family, your cousin, your mom. Not everyone is earning $150,000 a year. I don't even earn that. But we have a responsibility as a government and as lawmakers to be concerned about those who are less than. They earned this tax credit. The government has said that they earned this tax credit. And what this tax credit does, I talked about this because we had people testifying about how important it is to get this tax credit for them to maybe pay rent so they can't be unhoused. They don't want to be unhoused. Maybe it is to pay for a medical bill. Maybe it is that I want my child to have access to curricular activities at school, and it costs me an extra $100. And some people have to stretch their paychecks, and maybe they can't afford to put their kid in an extracurricular activity at school, or buy them their uniform, or to take the bus to get to practice. This earned credit is for them. It's for them. It's earned tax credit for people who don't make a lot of money in the state of Colorado. And it's not just for my district. It's for everyone that's suffering with trying to make ends meet to live in the state of Colorado. We have a unique opportunity as lawmakers to lift them up and give them that extra boost that they need to survive. You might not can relate to it, but I know people who deal with food insecurities. I see them every day. And I see them doing the best they can, taking public transportation. Where I live right out front of an RTD bus drive, which is the 15. If you don't know 15, then you should, because that's the transportation access for people to get to work in my community. I see them early in the morning, taking the bus to go to hotels. When they go to those hotels, they're cleaning up rooms. They're making beds. They deserve an earned income tax credit. They deserve our affirmation as lawmakers that we care about poor people or the middle class people enough for them to get a tax credit that so many of our corporations and other people get. And it's a small amount. You might think it's insignificant, but for the people I serve and the people that you serve, this is what they need for them to address the issues and the challenges and the circumstances in their household. I don't have insight into what's going on in their household, but I can tell you, they're telling me, and it's clear to me who I represent and what I stand for. They're telling me that they need this earned income tax credit for them to continue to thrive in the great state of Colorado. And for us to say, no, you don't deserve it, after they've earned it, and after we already passed it, doing a special session, is baffling to me. So I'm going to close my comments by asking each of you to think about your districts and think about the hardworking people in those districts and vote for this opportunity for them to be lifted up by this earned income tax credit. Vote yes on House Bill 1084.
Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, this is not the earned income tax credit of Ronald Reagan, and I am thinking about my district when I cast my vote, because this bill takes money out of the pockets of the hardworking taxpayers of my district. It takes money out of the pockets of the hardworking citizens in my district and the hardworking green card holders in my district. It redistributes that money, and it redistributes their refunds to those who did not follow the rules and came here illegally, who have been here less than 6 months. That redistribution is wrong. It is not fair to those who came here through the green card process. It's not fair to the hardworking citizens and the hardworking taxpayers and the hardworking families of Colorado, and I urge a no vote.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, members, hardworking people of Colorado. The senator, my friend and colleague from Aurora, makes a passionate and compelling case for providing relief to the hardworking families of Colorado, providing them an earned income tax credit, an increased earned income tax credit for this year because of the economic conditions in our state and in our country. It is compelling. And make no mistake about my own district, while I have some of the wealthiest neighborhoods, no doubt, I also, in that very same district, have some of the most economically challenged neighborhoods and citizens, hardworking families. I see them at my church. I see them at the other workplace I go to when I'm not here. So, if the case is so compelling, if I have these citizens in my district, if I see them at the bus stops in my district, if I see them at the school that my granddaughter attends, why do I have a problem with this bill? I have a problem with this bill, and people of Colorado, you need to understand. This bill provides you relief taken from other hard-working families in Colorado who equally need that relief. Our issue with this bill, first and foremost, has always been and primarily been that it is funded with the very money taken from those hardworking families, and we're passing a bill to hand them back their money and say, I'm helping you. Really? Now, it's a truism that every bill we pass that costs money, which is most of them, all of them probably, that money comes from somewhere. Doesn't come from Washington where it's printed most often, and even if it is, there's a cost to that, to the hardworking people in my district and yours. Today, Colorado is holding about $4 billion in reserves, various reserves, to deal with difficult economic circumstances. This bill cost about $182 million. And instead of taking that $182 million from hardworking people in Colorado who expect their Tabor refund because the government took more money from them last year than it was permitted to take, we ought to have the courage and the fiscal discipline to take that money from that reserve that we put aside for difficult economic circumstances and provide relief, true relief, for the hardworking people of Colorado. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't reach in their one pocket and put the money in their other pocket and say, thank you, vote for me, because we passionately care about you. If we do, then we ought to exercise the fiscal discipline to return not just their Tabor refund, but another $180 million that we, the government, taxed from them at the grocery store. Oh, you don't pay taxes on groceries. Well, every family in this state knows that there's a bunch of stuff at the grocery store you buy that does have sales tax on it. Sales tax on clothing, sales tax on your kids' shoes. We ought to provide the relief, and yes, there's a passionate case to be made for an earned income tax credit. But I've yet to hear, and I suppose people can work up passion about anything, but I've yet to hear a passionate case for why we ought to use their own money to give them tax relief instead of reaching into the state of Colorado's pocket, into that reserve for the difficult economic times that they, our constituents, our families, are experiencing. That has first and foremost always been our objection to this legislative measure during the extraordinary session, and our objection today. Let's not play a shell game with the hardworking families of Colorado. Let's provide them true relief. Let's not give them their money back or redistribute it from one hardworking family to another hardworking family. Let's exercise some fiscal discipline. Let's make a cut somewhere, and the 178 programs that have been created in the past several years there's a lot of rhetoric in this well, and if you don't concentrate on the facts, you can be convinced that you're providing relief when you aren't really. That's why many of us object to this bill. We wholeheartedly agree, and let me say it one more time to the people of Colorado, we wholeheartedly agree that you deserve relief by way of an earned income tax credit. But we ought to be courageous enough to pay for it with money from Colorado's reserves and not with your own money, and then have the audacity to tell you that we provided you relief when we actually took money from one of your pockets, handed it to you, put it in your other pocket, and said, we did you a favor. Vote no.
Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, I want to say to the good senator from Aurora, I appreciated your words. And I don't really disagree with you because I support an earned income tax credit. But like the good senator from Colorado Springs, I do agree and object to this bill because we're doing it on the backs of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Now, I have been in the legislature for I'm going on my 6th year. And the good senator from Aurora talked about how difficult it is to live in this state, how unaffordable it is. And in the last 6 years that I've been here, a lot of bills have passed that have made it difficult to live in this state. And now we want to do this, and we want to do it with the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. I can't believe, and those of you that are listening, that you're buying this, because this was done on bills that made it difficult to live in this state, and people are having a tough time, and I sympathize with them. But I will be a no vote on this bill because it should not be with the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Thank you.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. Just this past year, the citizens of Colorado voted on a proposition that came from a bill out of this chamber, Senate Bill 23-303, created Proposition HH, that asked the people of Colorado, can we please take your Taxpayer Bill of Rights money and use it elsewhere, and ultimately maybe tap into it forever. And the people of Colorado said, no, we value our Taxpayer Bill of Rights, our TABOR refunds, and you will not tap into that for others' sake. This bill, 1084, says, oh yeah? Well, watch this. It overrides the will of the people to not have their Taxpayers' Bill of Rights lifted from them by tapping into it for funding this refund, this other refund, the Earned Income Tax Credit refund. Now, that's not so bad all of itself, except that it goes to folks who did not contribute into that, and it puts it on the backs of the hardworking people who did contribute. Now, what I'm talking about, of course, is the big hole that we have on the south side of our nation, an open border that is uncontrolled. And folks have come here to Colorado in droves. I heard recently an estimate of 35,000 people who came in without going through the usual system and have landed in Denver alone, 35,000 in Denver alone. And according to the statute, they would all be eligible for this Earned Income Tax Credit because there is no requirement for having a valid Social Security number. This is the biggest issue to me, is folks that came in uninvited and then can immediately get that reward. This is not money going back to the people who struggled to earn it in the first place and were overtaxed. These are folks that came in recently, uninvited, that we're figuring out how to support, how to house, how to keep sheltered. And they are then going to tap into the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights pool against the will of the people. There's everything wrong with this bill. We could take a much different approach that would take the Earned Income Tax Credit funds out of the general pool, not Taxpayer Bill of Rights that people who earned it deserve to have back. And it should go just to the folks who earned it, not the folks who were uninvited. And what will the result be? Will be an invitation for more because, hey, there's free money in Colorado. So for all those reasons, I would strongly urge a no vote on this bill. I think it's just a real spit in the face to the voters.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. And a reminder, everybody, he is the president when he is in charge of this chamber, not President Pro Tem. So, Mr. President and colleagues, I rise in firm support of this bill. I've got 3 points I want to make. Simple 3 points. First of all, our constitutional duty is to set the TABOR refund mechanisms. That's our job. I have not heard one complaint this morning from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle about the senior homestead exemption, which is the first TABOR refund mechanism. Not a single complaint. I'm waiting. If TABOR is so sacrosanct, if it is the sacred cow of this state fiscally, where's that complaint? Give me a break. Our job is to set the refund mechanisms. It's right in the Constitution. It's in TABOR. So let's do our job, just like we did with senior homestead. Point number 2, the earned income tax credit is not free money, as we were just told. It is a tax benefit for working families. Straightforward. It's been that way since its creation at the federal level. We are expanding it with this bill at the state level to 50% of the federal level. It helps low-income working families. It's not free money for people who just got here. Give me a break. That is a red herring if I've ever seen one. Point number 3. The GOP alternative is to help the ultra-wealthy. If this is not a refund mechanism, that means there's more money left over for the 6-tier mechanism, which means there's more of a tax break, more of a refund mechanism for the folks at the very highest levels of our society. That's the choice we're making here. Do we put the refund mechanism into the EITC and help working poor? Or do we reserve more of the Tabor refund for the ultra-wealthy in the state? That's it, folks. That's the choice we're making here. I think I know which side I stand on. I think I know which side my party stands on. I think we have a pretty clear contrast with this bill. Do not get distracted by a false narrative about folks who just showed up to Colorado. Do not get distracted that Tabor is sacrosanct, because this is our job. This is setting a Tabor refund mechanism, and I urge strong support for us doing our job.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I rise to engage in this debate, which has become spirited and slightly more focused, for which I am grateful. I rise in strong support of the working families of Colorado. All the working families of Colorado. In 1992, the working families of Colorado cried out, and they said, "Government, you're getting out of control. Government, you are making my life more unaffordable than I can bear. Government, you are growing yourself in ways that create regulatory burden that is killing my small business and forcing me not to hire that additional member of my community that I would like to be able to afford to hire, but I can't because the regulations you are putting on me as a small business person prevent me from doing that." 1992. The people then, as they cried out for relief, took matters into their own hands and said, "We shall put into the Constitution something that will be known with the highest word we can use in the secular literature of our existence, a right. We will protect our rights as taxpayers, and we will call it the Taxpayer Bill of Rights." Well, they weren't very specific. They did create, to the prior speaker, the good senator from Denver's perspective, they did create a constitutional burden upon the General Assembly to figure out how to distribute the refunds at such time should they be available to refund to the people of Colorado who had put in place a mechanism to restrain the excessive growth of government. And so in 1997, 5 years later, when the pool of cash in the Taxpayer Bill of Rights refund pool, I like to call it the People's Savings Account, had grown large enough, Governor Roy Romer called a special session and said, "Constitution says we're supposed to figure out how to distribute this." The language used in creating the Taxpayer Bill of Rights in 92 said that the refund mechanism should not be excessive, since government's not required to refund money directly to individual taxpayers. It may use a temporary rate reduction to the same end. So when the Taxpayer Bill of Rights was put in place, the people were clear. They said, make it as broad in returning it to the people and as simple in returning it to the people as possible. A rate reduction is the obvious way to do it. They said when originally putting the Taxpayer Bill of Rights into the Constitution. In 1997, what happened? A Democrat governor called the legislature into session. They evaluated their circumstances and they said, sales tax rate reduction is the best way to address this. Keep it broad, because we want to help all the working families of Colorado, as do my colleagues in the Republican caucus. And I believe everyone deep inside wants to help all the working families of Colorado. It's just this bill doesn't help all the working families of Colorado. So, in carrying that constitutional burden to establish the refund mechanism in 1997, the special session, the first precedent was set, and we now have a 6-tier system, which I'll come back to in rebuttal to the third point that you just heard previously from this podium. The sales tax refund is the first mechanism in the 6-tier refund process. Goes to everybody. Everybody. Not the rich, not the poor alone, not the middle income alone, but all people that do commerce, that buy things, that live life in Colorado. Quick rabbit trail here to this question of homestead exemption. Why? Why? Because, quite frankly, I support, defend, and will, with my last political breath, the homestead exemption for seniors. But here's the deal, I'm not alone in doing that. The people of Colorado said, we care so much about honoring our seniors, we will put that mechanism in the Constitution, not in statute. The homestead mechanism refund is in the Constitution. Recently, in honoring of our Gold Star families are families that lost someone. Someone died in service of our country. And we honor those families also with a homestead exemption. The people of Colorado just a couple years ago put that in the Constitution. Not statutory, like what we're dealing with here in this bad bill, but in the Constitution by the voice of the people, by the authority of the people. It was put in the Constitution. That's the distinction. What's in the Constitution is constitutional. What's the statute? A future General Assembly shall not be bound. It can be changed by 3318 and 1. Constitution, you ain't changing nothing with 3318 and 1. Takes an act to the people, as was the homestead exemption placed in the Constitution. This particular bill is labeled, it's an earned income tax credit. Well, let's unpack that. Now I'm going to get a little wonky, a little tax policy-ish, a little economic-ish. It's a non-refundable tax credit, meaning if you did not make a nickel, you did not work a day last year, or the year that this applies to, you may, if you have a Social Security number at the federal level, or an ITIN, an individual tax identification number at the state level, whether you took one job, worked 1 hour, picked up one W-4, one W-2, did any of the tax identification mechanisms that we normally associate with working and earning, whether you earned a nickel or not, you may file a document, provided you have an SSN, Social Security number, or an ITIN. You may file a tax return that says, I did not work a minute, I did not work an hour, I did not make $1, but I want that non-refundable tax credit, that tax credit that comes to me not as a repayment back of part of the money I paid in, not a deduction on taxes, and not a credit against taxes paid, but a distribution of cash from the government, the state of Colorado in this case, whether I made a nickel or not. As long as you file that return, you get that money back. Staff estimated when we had this debate in the special session, there were about 10,000 people in Colorado of that nature. Didn't have material income, filed the forms, received the credit, non-refundable tax credit. So that's to the second point in rebuttal. Third point in rebuttal is that somehow the GOP caucus, the grand old party, the big tent party, the you know what, if you love liberty, come join us party, wants to do this for the rich We have a flat refund mechanism in place today. The first of the 6 tiers is a sales tax refund. Nothing is more egalitarian than saying if you're going to make 100 grand in a year, I used to think if you're going to make 40 grand or 50 grand, or you can't survive on 40 or 50 anymore. If you're going to make 100 grand, 75 grand's threshold on this, and you're going to spend every nickel of what you make to survive, and when you spend it, it's subject to sales tax, we're going to give you a refund back in the best way we can to get to the most people, because I'm here for the working people, the hard-working families of Colorado, all the hard-working families of Colorado. Refund it through a sales tax mechanism. As the first tier of the refund mechanism exists, as the 1997 special session, the first time the legislature engaged and said, here's how we see it, here's what we heard the people of Colorado say when they put the Taxpayer Bill of Rights into the Constitution in '92, sales tax mechanism is the best way to turn it back. And that is what the grand old party is fighting for. Keep it broad, not for a narrow class of individuals, for political reasons or not, but for all the people of Colorado. Keep it as broad as possible. So, colleagues, I rise in vigorous support. Some people say I get red-faced and sound like I'm angry. Perhaps it's angry support. I don't think so. It's just vigorous support. It's the way I talk. I've got a big voice. I should probably not use microphones.
Mr. Minority Leader, would you like to go into your next 10 minutes?
Oh, I think I need at least that much more time.
You have a beautiful voice.
Thank you very much. You do too, Mr. President. Thank you very much. We should sing together. It'd be a heck of a duet, I'm confident. I rise in vigorous, hopeful, helpful, perhaps passionate, perhaps loud support of all the working families of Colorado. And in order to do that, I challenge, I condemn, I vote against, and ask you to vote against this bill before us now. Thank you, Mr. President. Let's find a time to go sing together.
Let's do it. Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I raise in support of this bill, and thank you for the history lesson, but under Tabor, we get to decide how and when we rebate the tax voters, and this is completely in line with our values. But why I came up today was really based on the rhetoric of people coming here uninvited. I think that was a pretty strong statement of people being uninvited to our state. I believe in our state. I believe in our country. I believe in the opportunity and hope that we have in our country. And I'm choosing today to use a quote from the Bible. The alien who resides with you shall be to you as a citizen among you. You shall love the alien as yourself, for you are all aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord and your God. I think it's important that we think about the messages we're sending. As a parent, as a mother, I would do anything to protect my children. And to stand at this well and say people are uninvited to our hope and opportunity that we are working to create today to our state and to our country is exceptionally important.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I rise in support of House Bill 1084 for a number of reasons. But salient to me is the fact that in this state, we do make a concerted effort in the area of senior property tax exemption to give a helping hand to those longtime citizens of the state of Colorado who need help to stay in their homes. And this bill, in my opinion, helps those the working poor that are struggling with the price increases that, like the Trump tax hikes of 2017 and the threatened increase tariffs that he's purporting to support going forward. Those raise costs to the very working poor that this bill hopes to help. And so that is why, or one of the many reasons why I think this is good policy for the state of Colorado. I find it troubling that arguments would go towards those immigrants that are fleeing communism, that are simply coming to this country for a better life and to flee the oppression that many of these communist regimes, vis-a-vis Venezuela, are ruining their lives. This will help many Coloradans, seniors, working poor, so on and so forth. So I ask for an aye vote on House Bill 1084.
Senator Colker.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you to my colleagues, both sides, for their spirited and debate on this bill. A bill that we've talked about at great length starting in November. Here we are in January, still talking about it. And in my opinion, delaying the ability of us to get help to those who really need it. You see, the Earned Income Tax Credit, EITC, is a bill that's bipartisan in policy. We've heard that. The idea to focus and help working families and individuals who are earning income, to focus that assistance on those who are struggling the most. You remember the experience I shared with you last year of going through a drive-through when the cashier said to me, "Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me." And I asked why, what was going on, what made her say that. She was a single mom living on a couch of her friend's apartment, making $20 an hour at McDonald's. $20 an hour. I remember my dad made $20 an hour at John Deere back in the 80s. Thought, wow, that's really good money. If you add that up to 2,000 hours a year, it's $40,000 a year. It's not good money anymore. She didn't have enough to save raising her child to put towards a deposit on an apartment. That's what our focus is here today, is to get money to people like her so they can get their head above water. They can get ahead, maybe get into an apartment of their own so they can have some stability. I've visited food banks in my district. How many people have gone out and visited food banks in your district? Go out and visit them. Ask them where they get their money. Ask them where they get their funding. Ask them who's coming to get food. There's no racial divide. There's no immigrant or non-immigrant divide on who needs food. Everyone needs food. There are people who are food insecure all across this state. You know, when I moved to Colorado in 1999, I wasn't invited. I just came here. And I'm lucky, I guess. I'm lucky to be living in the greatest state in these United States. I am lucky to be here, lucky to have the opportunity to make a living. But I'm also lucky to know that we have people here that care about those that come here, that care in my district. This is what I'm hearing from my district. I'm hearing from the people that I represent. This is our need. This is what we want. We need this support. We are working families. We are at the bottom of the pay scale. And we are struggling. And this is what we can do constitutionally. This is what we can do as a legislature to support those working families. We're going to end with this and strongly urge an aye vote. What I want to emphasize is I'm going to name off some people on both sides of the aisle and how many people get that earned income tax credit. From the senator from Highlands Ranch, 3,830 people get the earned income tax credit, file for it. Increasing it may increase the number of people who file. So money's actually staying in your district. From the senator from Thornton, 10,930 people. The senator from Commerce City, 12,900 filed for this. To the senator from Sterling, 10,330 filed for this. For the senator from Colorado Springs, 13,840. In my own district, 5,890. The people of my district and the people of this state want and need this. I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion. The motion is the passage of House Bill 1084. Are there any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader Gardner, Rich, Baisley, Will, Van Winkle, Smallwood, Kirkmeyer, Senator Liston, Pelton B, Pelton R, Simpson, with a vote of 23 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, House Bill 1084 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Exum, Priola, Mullica, Hansen, Mr. Majority Leader, Winter, Buckner, Michelson Janae, Cutter, Marchman, Danielson, Finberg, Jaquez Lewis, Sullivan, Bridges, Gonzalez. Please add the president. Announcements. Senator Pelton, beautiful.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask for a moment of personal privilege, please.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, colleagues, we have some amazing people in the chamber, and they are the Rocky Mountain Police and Fire Chaplains. And I have this tribute that I'd like to read and about how important they are to our communities. The Colorado General Assembly would like to recognize January 24th as Colorado Emergency Response Chaplains Day. The Rocky Mountain Police and Fire Chaplains was founded on January 24th, 2014 as a resource organization to help guide chaplains in the understanding the mission of their work and to equip them with the needed knowledge, skills, and abilities to better help them serve. Chaplains are a vital aspect of the emergency responder world due to the trusted and valued relationship that chaplains build with officers, firefighters, support staff, and families. They are often the individuals that are relied upon in moments of crisis out in the field and in the personal lives of our service members. The Colorado State Senate, with the Colorado State House of Representatives concurring therein, would like to honor and thank all of the emergency response chaplains in the state of Colorado for this service to those who serve us. So please, let's all give them a round of applause. Please stand. They are so important to our communities, and I just want to say thank you for them for being here today, so thank you.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody in this chamber today for the powerful, respectful, and policy-focused debate that we had on this bill. It is refreshing because I feel like in so many other parts of this world and this country, we are marked by dysfunction and gotcha games. And how lovely is it for us to actually be able to have a debate about the merits of the bill. So I just want to say thank you all for being a little breath of fresh air in my day today. With that, Mr. President, I also have an announcement I'd like to make.
Yes, Senator Gonzalez.
We are going to continue all of that good work in our joint Judiciary Committee hearing today at what time is it? 1:30 p.m. today in the Old Supreme Court. We're going to hear from our colleagues at the JBC. Come ready with your books. And we'll also hear a presentation from the Behavioral Health Administration, the DAs, and an overview of competency in Colorado. Y'all, we know that this is a huge issue in our state, and so if you're not on Joint Judiciary, but you want to get smart on competency, come through, y'all. We're going to dive deep. Thanks, Mr. President.
Senator Zinzinger.
Speaking of SMART Act hearings, here is an example of the book in real time. We ask all of you to bring this to the upon adjournment meeting with agriculture, which actually comes first. So if you are members of the Agricultural Committee, your JBC stands ready to meet with you and answer your questions, and please do not forget your Purple Stripe books. Also, this evening there is a reception being sponsored by the Colorado Assisted Living Association that will be this evening beginning at 4:30. If you are interested in meeting with other industry professionals and learning about issues in assisted living, we would love to see you there. Thank you.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a very exciting day for transportation and energy. Thanks to the JBC and everyone that attended this morning. At 1:30, we have Joint Transportation SMART Act, and then upon adjournment of Joint Transportation SMART Act, we have a regular Transportation and Energy Committee meeting where we will be hearing Senate Bill 39.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, if I can have your attention, and Mr. President, I would like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, it is with tremendous pleasure that I introduce to you nuclear engineer and former Miss America, Miss Grace Stanke. Grace is currently visiting from her home state in Wisconsin. She recently graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where she received her Bachelor of Science degree in nuclear engineering. when she isn't competing in pageants or using her large platform to advocate for nuclear energy as the means to save America's, means to achieve America's clean energy goals. Grace is a master violinist. She enjoys water skiing and is a lover of the outdoors. Members, I hope that you will join me in giving this bright and talented young lady a warm welcome to Colorado. Thank you, Grace, for being here, and members, I hope you'll come meet her. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Congratulations, and thanks for making us all feel unaccomplished. Senator Will.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm up here with my co-chair of the Sportsman's Caucus. You see these on your desk this morning. And please RSVP for this and go down to the Buckhorn Exchange and join the Sportsman's Caucus. We're going to have elk, quail, duck, salmon, buffalo, Rocky Mountain oysters, my favorite, alligator, calamari, all kinds of stuff. So please join the Sportsman's Caucus down there. It's on January 30th.
Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
But you need to RSVP.
Yeah, but you need to RSVP. And also, this is the deal about the lion hunting ban is on your desk as well. If any of you would like to talk to me about this and this initiative, please do, because I have some, I have a little bit of experience dealing with mountain lions and the hunting of mountain lions in the state of Colorado. So please talk to me.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I encourage you to join the dinner at the Buckhorn. If you've never been to the Buckhorn, it is an experience, some delicious food, great conversation, and in the good senator from Denver's district, yes.
Yes.
So we'll see you there, of course. And we look forward to next Tuesday. And then, sort of relatedly, the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, as Senator Zenzinger noted, we are meeting upon adjournment. The House has been adjourned for a while, so we're going to get started really quickly with our Smart Act hearing in the Old State Library when we get done right now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate Health and Human Services Committee, we are going to be meeting in room 357, and we are going to convene at 10:30. At 10:30, I'll see you there. Thank you.
Senator Pelton R.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Members, Senator Pelton R. has asked for a moment of personal privilege. Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to let everyone know there was a small community.
Hold on, Senator Pelton. Members, I'm so sorry, but there's a member who's asked for a moment of personal privilege, and we've granted that. Senator Pelton, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a small community out in my district, 25 miles from my hometown. Had two young members of their community died yesterday, members of the volunteer fire department. Community of 250 people, those two people, very influential in that community. So I'd ask everyone to include them in your prayers, and thank you.
Any further announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. A brief announcement. I think they had to leave, but we had on the floor today the members of the Colorado Community College System. It's Community College System Day at the Capitol. They will be having lunch at the First Baptist Church at noon, so please join them. I couldn't introduce them because they had to leave the floor during debate. But seeing that, Mr. President, I move that the Senate recess until 12 o'clock. Colleagues, you do not need to return. We're just going to be reading some bills across the desk. So on that, I ask to adjourn until 12 p.m.
Recess or adjourn? Recess or adjourn? All right. You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will recess until noon.